the default bridge network. I'm now going to have a walkthrough in which eventually what I would like to demonstrate is one container is able to ping the other container using the IP address but not the name of the container. And that is what actually is the limitation of bridge. Followed by this, I am going to take the next walkthrough in which I will demonstrate how a custom bridge which is created, custom bridge network which is created by us can use both IP address as well as the name of the other container to communicate. But yes, in all cases, what is expected at this point of time is both the containers are on the same host. So first, let us simply see Docker network ls. We have got 4 different networks here: bridge network, host network, null network. Because I do not have Docker swarm, I don't have the complete Docker swarm installed on it or configured on it, and hence I'm not able to see the other networks. Right now this is only installation for a PC machine, not for a network of machines. The orchestration support is not there on my machine at this point of time, and that is also beyond the scope of our syllabus. So let us only concentrate on bridge. So now we can use Docker network inspect bridge, and you'll see that the containers list is empty. Now I would like to create here 2 container instances. So Docker run, I would like to give -dit, a combination. Basically I want to run in interactive mode, but at the same time it should be initiated with detached mode. So -- name, and then I should give the name of the container, let's say C1, and the image. Any image you can give for demo purpose. I am giving Microsoft/.net. So this is going to create the container in detached mode. That means it is running in the background and it has the ability to let us in because we have given IT there. So you can actually see now Docker ps, and you have the container already running. 16 seconds ago it was created. Likewise, same command, just one more container C2, and we now know that there are 2 containers created. Both are having name C1, C2 as I provided. They are not auto generated. Now let us inspect the bridge network. And you see now under containers section, we have got 2 containers references. So name is C1, endpoint is so and so, MAC address is there, and then IP4, IP6 is not there. That's fine. We need IP4, 4-byte IP address. So the container 1 has 172.17.0.2 and container 2 has 172.17.0.3. 172.17 is the series actually which is used by the bridge network by default. That's what is the default series. You will always find that series only for all the containers which are created on your machine without any explicit mention of network, wherein it by default uses the bridge network. Now what is most important is I will get into the container 1. How to do that? Docker attach C1. So we are now into C1. Now ping C2, and you will see that server or service name not known. We are not able to ping C2 being in C1. But if I use IP address of C2 172.17.0.2 17.0.3, it will be successful. We are able to ping there. So what is important is one container is able to ping another container by its IP address, and yes, they are both in the same network, which is a bridge network created by the Docker on this particular host. And not only that, what is important is we will be able to even ping internet. I'm able to ping google.com as well. That means from the Docker container we are able to access internet also, wherein it is going to make use of my host network. So Docker container through bridge is using my host network for a browsing internet. So this is what I have demonstrated in all the steps here. I would like you also to follow once. So let us now stop the two containers and proceed to next demo, where I would like to show you how a user-defined network can be created and how this user-defined network can be used for communication between two containers using both IP address as well as the name. Both I would be able to use if it is user-defined network. So first what I'll do is I'll stop C1 and C2. Okay, I have to exit first, come to the host, Docker stop C1 and C2, and also let's remove them. Now I want to get into a state where I'll again create 4 networks. But for creation of the network along with the container, I want to first create a network and then 4 containers. So how to create a network? Docker network create is the command. --, driver name. In my case, I want it to be a bridge driver, and then give the network name. Let's say my custom network. So this has created a new my custom network, and we can now use this my custom network for creation of the containers. Run -dit name, let's say C1, and network my custom network, and use the image name. Like this, I would like to have one more C2. Now C3 let me create without mention of the network. So can I say C3 will automatically use the bridge network? And then I have C4, which is also created in the custom network. So in the custom network which I have created, there are 3 containers. And how can we verify that? Yes, Docker network inspect my custom network, and these are the 3 containers: C4, C2, C1. And now I try to inspect the default bridge, and you'll see there is only C3. Now what we can do is we can say Docker network connect bridge C4. Docker network connect I am using. I am now connecting the existing container C4 to the bridge network. And now inspect the bridge, you will see there are two networks here. C3 and there are two containers here, C3 and C4. And if you inspect my custom network, you will have here C2, C1, C2 and C4. Important point to note is C4 is part of both the networks now. My custom network as well as the default bridge network. So yes, one container can be part of multiple networks. So here remember the IP address now for each one of them. C1 has IP dot 2. So C2 has 3, C4 has 4 and C3 will have C3 has 2. But this 2 is in bridge. So first let us clarify between these two. I will get into now C3 which is in bridge. How to get into C3? Simple, attach container C3. Docker attach is enough. Now being in C3, can I ping C4? Ping C4. By name you will see it has failed because this is the default bridge network. But let's try to ping by IP minus C3. Basically 3 times I want to check for ping 172.17.0.3. So from C3, I am attached to C3. I am pinging the IP address of C4 and it works. Simple. So I repeat, bridge network, two containers can talk to each other, but they cannot communicate using name. They have to communicate compulsory using IP only. Now, I don't want to press exit and come out because the moment I press exit and come out, this container instance will terminate. So how should I detach myself? Use control PQ. Control PQ. We have come back to the host and you will notice that Docker PS is still giving you all the 4 containers which are running. C1, C2, C3, C4. Let's say now I attach, before that, Docker network inspect my custom network. And you see here we have 3. So now if I say ping, first I have to get into it actually. So I'll say Docker attach P1, C1. I am now into container C1. Now if I say ping C2, it works. We are able to ping by the name. Ping C3. No, we can't because that is in a different network. So we cannot ping C3. C4 will work. Can we ping Google? Yes, even that will work. Even we are able to ping Google. So I believe now it is very clear to you that in case we want to have two networks, we want to have two containers communicate using each other, using name, compulsory we need to create a custom network, and that is what is ideal in production. For development you may want to use the default bridge, but for production purpose it is always recommended to use our own custom network, and the same custom network should be used for communication. So before you end this session, you should always, as a practice, stop the containers. Let's try to Docker network You can use disconnect C1. Oh, we need to mention the my custom network C1. So C1 is now disconnected. Inspect my custom network. And you see C1 is not there in this list. Inspect bridge. C1 is not there in this list also. So C1 is now isolated. Unless you connect C1 to any of one of the networks, it cannot communicate with anyone, any other container or even the host based applications. None. Yes, you can connect again using connect, or you can always use stop and permanently terminate Docker stop C1, C2, C3, C4 and Docker remove. So it will show you now the container is empty. Containers list is empty. And even finally, you can remove the network. So Docker network, we connected, we created, we disconnected, we inspected, we listed, removed. Prune is going to remove all unused network. If you have a list of networks, Prune will simply clean all of them. So this is all about Docker network and most important about how bridge network is useful. Mind you, I'm not demonstrating other types of networks, other type of drivers for the reason that we are not working with Swarm. If at all you get a chance to work with Swarm, all those other things can be demonstrated. For that, we will have to bring multiple hosts into the picture. On one PC, it cannot be done. You'll need more than one computer in a network for running your containers. Thank you.